Hello and welcome back to Smart Talk English. I'm Natasha, your host for today's episode. If this is your first time here, I want to let you know that we upload a new English learning video every single day to help you improve your fluency and build confidence in your speaking and understanding skills. In today's video, we're exploring a fascinating and highly useful topic that often confuses English learners: the difference between American English and British English. You might think English is just English, but when you dive deeper, you'll see that vocabulary, pronunciation, spelling, and even grammar can vary greatly depending on which side of the Atlantic you're learning from. Today's lesson will help you sharpen your listening skills, boost your comprehension, and gain the flexibility to speak with confidence in both versions of English. We'll talk about real-life examples from daily conversations, show you how expressions can differ, and give you practice that will train your ears and your mouth to sound more natural. Whether you're preparing for travel, studying abroad, watching English language content, or just curious about the small but important distinctions, this video will be your guide. So before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss one of our daily English learning sessions. Now, get comfortable. Grab a notebook and pen, and let's get started. Many English learners wonder whether they should focus on American English or British English. The truth is, both are equally correct and widely used around the world. But understanding the differences between them can help you feel more confident and flexible, especially when you're having conversations with people from different countries, or consuming English media like TV shows, podcasts, or books. To start with, one of the biggest differences you'll notice right away is in vocabulary. For example, in British English, they say flat for a place to live. But in American English, it's called an apartment. When you're carrying your bags to your flat in the UK, you might take the lift. But in the US, you'd take the elevator. These simple words are used every day, and recognizing them can help you quickly understand the context of what's being said. Now imagine this short conversation between two friends. One is from London, and the other from New York. The British friend says, "I left my jumper in the boot of the car." And the American replies, "You're what in the what?" In this case, jumper in British English means a sweater in American English, and the boot of the car is what Americans call the trunk. These kinds of differences are fun to learn and very practical when you travel, chat with native speakers online, or watch movies. Try saying this line out loud to practice both versions. I put my sweater in the trunk. Now say the British version. I put my jumper in the boot. Feel how the sentence changes, but still keeps the same meaning. That's the beauty of learning both. Pronunciation is another major difference that you'll hear often. Take the word schedule. In American English, it's pronounced schedule, while in British English, it's often said as schedule. If you're learning English through YouTube or online teachers, you might be exposed to one more than the other. That's totally fine. The key is to train your ear to understand both. When you're watching a show from the UK, like The Crown, or from the US, like Friends, pay attention to how the words sound. Try shadowing, which means repeating the sentences right after the speaker says them. For example, hear the word advertisement. Americans usually say advertisement, and Brits might say advertisement. Both are right, just different. Repeat each version a few times slowly. Then try using it in a sentence. I saw an advertisement on TV. This simple practice helps build listening flexibility and natural speaking rhythm. Let's try another pronunciation exercise. Say the word garage. In American English, it sounds like GHRS. In British English, it's often garage. Repeat both versions a few times. Now say, I parked my car in the garage. This helps you get used to switching between accents without confusion. The more you practice, the easier it gets. Don't worry about perfecting both accents. You can choose to speak in the style that feels more comfortable for you. But being able to understand both is an amazing skill. Spelling differences are also very common. You may have noticed words like color and color, or organize and organize. Americans usually use or and I's, while British spelling often uses R and IC. These differences won't affect your speech directly, but they're important if you're writing emails, reports, or exams. For example, if you're applying for a job in the US, stick with organize and color. But if you're writing a cover letter in the UK, use organize and color. Reading articles and writing short paragraphs using one version of spelling can help you stay consistent. Try writing this sentence in both styles. I like to organize my favorite colors in a neat row. And in British spelling, I like to organize my favorite colors in a neat row. It's a small detail, but it makes a big difference when writing professionally. Another common area where American and British English differ is in everyday phrases and expressions. Even though the meaning is often the same, the words used can be quite different. For instance, in the UK, people often say, I'm going to the loo, while in the US you'll hear, I'm going to the bathroom or restroom. In a restaurant, a British person might ask for the bill, but in America, they'd ask for the check. This is something learners often struggle with, because they might learn one version in class and hear another in real life or in movies. To practice, try creating small dialogues in your mind or writing them down. For example, excuse me, can I get the check, please? And excuse me, can I get the bill, please? Practice saying both versions naturally. Try imagining you're at a cafe in London. Then imagine you're at a diner in New York. This mental switch helps make these phrases stick in your memory. Let's explore one more example with clothing. In Britain, you wear trousers and trainers. But in America, you'd wear pants and sneakers. The funny thing is, in the UK, pants actually means underwear. So this is one difference that can lead to some awkward confusion. Picture the scene. An American traveler in London says, I spilled coffee on my pants. And everyone looks confused. To practice, try saying, I bought new trousers and trainers yesterday. Now switch it to American English. I bought new pants and sneakers yesterday. Repeat them both aloud a few times. This will help you feel more comfortable with both. Even small phrases like greetings can vary. In British English, people might greet each other with, you all right? Which is a casual way to say hello, not necessarily a question about your health. An American might say, how's it going? Or simply, hey, what's up? These little phrases are important for sounding natural and friendly. Practice greeting someone in both styles. British version, you all right? American version, hey, how's it going? You can even record yourself and compare how your voice sounds in each style. You don't need to master both accents, but practicing both makes your English more flexible and responsive. Grammar differences are subtle, but important too. One big difference is in the use of the present perfect tense. British English tends to use it more frequently than American English. For example, in British English, you'd say, I've just eaten. While in American English, you'll often hear, I just ate. Both are correct, but one sounds more British and the other more American. Try practicing with these examples. I've already seen that movie. That's British style. Now say, I already saw that movie. That's American style. Practice switching between the two. This helps you become comfortable with both grammatical patterns. Here's another grammar-based example. British English speakers might say, "He's got a new car," while Americans would typically say, "He has a new car." Both mean the same thing, but the form is different. Try saying both out loud. He's got a new car and he has a new car. Repeat them a few times until both feel natural. Then use them in your own sentence. My friend has a beautiful garden. Or, my friend's got a beautiful garden. This practice makes your speaking more dynamic and helps you adjust depending on your conversation partner or the situation. Some words even have entirely different meanings. For example, the word biscuit in the UK refers to what Americans would call a cookie. But in the US, a biscuit is a type of soft bread often served with gravy. So if someone in America offers you a biscuit, don't expect something sweet and crunchy. Instead, you'll get a warm, flaky roll. To practice, try saying, "I had biscuits and gravy for breakfast in the US." And "I had tea and biscuits in the UK." Each time you say these phrases, imagine the scene clearly. Visualization combined with repetition is one of the best ways to remember differences like these. Another interesting difference between American and British English lies in prepositions. It might seem like a small thing, but these small words can change the sound and rhythm of your sentence. For example, in British English, someone might say, "He is in hospital," while in American English, you'll hear, "He is in the hospital." The British version leaves out the, which might sound incomplete if you're used to American English. Another example is with transportation. A British speaker might say, "I'm going to university by bus," whereas an American would say, "I'm going to college by bus." Even the word college versus university is a good vocabulary distinction. In the US, college is often used casually to refer to university, while in the UK, college and university are two different levels of education. To practice, say both sentences, "I studied hard at university." Then say, "I studied hard in college." Imagine the setting in your mind and switch between the two versions to help your brain adjust to both structures. In transportation, there are even more vocabulary changes. In the UK, you take the underground or the tube when you're in London, but in the US, it's called the subway. The British say petrol for what Americans call gasoline or just gas. So, if you're in a British petrol station asking to fill up your tank, the conversation is different than in an American gas station. Try practicing a few sentences like, "I need to put petrol in the car," and then say, "I need to put gas in the car." Repeat both and feel how the words flow differently. This kind of vocabulary switching helps you become a more adaptable English speaker. There are even differences in date formats and units of measurement. In the UK, the date is written as day, month, year. So, July 22nd, 2025 would be written as 22/07/2025. In the US, it would be written as 07/22/2025. This may seem unimportant at first, but it can cause confusion, especially in formal writing or when filling out forms online. To practice, try writing dates both ways. My birthday is on December 3rd, 1998 in American format and March 12th, 1998 in British format. Understanding both will help you navigate situations more smoothly. Even food names can create fun and sometimes funny confusion. In Britain, crisps are what Americans call chips, and chips in Britain are what Americans call fries. So if you're in the UK and order fish and chips, you're getting fried fish with thick fries. But in the US, chips are thin, crunchy snacks. To make this fun and interactive, imagine you're in a restaurant. Say, "Can I get fish and chips, please?" Now switch to American. Can I get fish and fries, please? These tiny changes not only improve your listening, but also make you sound more authentic when speaking. Let's not forget about past tense usage. In British English, the past participle of learn is often learned, while in American English, it's learned. The same goes for dreamt versus dreamed and spilt versus spilled. While both versions are grammatically correct, American English tends to prefer the ed ending. Try saying these sentences, I've learned so much from this course, then switch to I've learned so much from this course. Repeat both and feel which sounds more natural to you. You don't have to memorize every single variation, but by practicing with both, you train your brain to become comfortable with either version. Another pronunciation example is the word herb. Americans often say herb without the H sound, while British speakers pronounce the H herb. This is the same with words like hotel or historic in some contexts, where the H might be softened in British English. To practice, say, I added fresh herbs to the recipe. First pronounce it the American way, herbs. Then, pronounce it the British way, herbs. Practice it in a full sentence for better retention. Now let's talk about tag questions. These are commonly used in British English, but less frequently in everyday American speech. A tag question is when you add a short question to the end of a statement, often to confirm or seek agreement. For example, a British speaker might say, it's a nice day, isn't it? Or, you've met Sarah before, haven't you? These are quite common in UK conversation and are used to keep the tone light and friendly. In American English, people tend to use simpler confirmation phrases like right or instead. So instead of saying, you've met him before, haven't you? An American might say, you've met him before, right? To practice, say both versions aloud. First, you're coming to the party, aren't you? And then, you're coming to the party, right? Get comfortable switching between them. It's a great way to sound more fluent and conversational depending on your setting. Let's look at how collective nouns are treated differently in British and American English. In British English, collective nouns like team, staff, or family are often treated as plural. For example, the team are winning or my family are on holiday. In American English, these same nouns are usually treated as singular. The team is winning or my family is on vacation. Try practicing both styles. Say, the staff are working late today. Then switch to the American form. The staff is working late today. Repeat a few times. It's a small detail, but it helps you understand written and spoken English more clearly. Speaking of holidays, even holidays themselves differ. In Britain, people say holiday when referring to time off from work or school, or even a vacation trip. In America, holiday usually refers to specific national events like Christmas, Thanksgiving, or the 4th of July, while vacation is used for personal time off. So a British speaker might say, I'm going on holiday next week. And an American would say, I'm going on vacation next week. To reinforce this, try both. We're planning a holiday this summer, and we're planning a vacation this summer. Say it aloud and imagine you're making real travel plans. Another fun distinction is in the way people describe things in the past. In British English, you might hear at the weekend, while in American English, it's on the weekend. So a British person might say, I visited my grandparents at the weekend. And an American would say, I visited my grandparents on the weekend. These small prepositional changes can sound strange at first, but they become easier the more you practice them. Say both versions now and listen to the rhythm. What did you do at the weekend? And, what did you do on the weekend? When you practice both styles regularly, You train your ears and your speech muscles to be more flexible. Another everyday example comes from expressing possession. In British English, it's common to say, "Have you got a pen?" While in American English, people often say, "Do you have a pen?" Both are perfectly correct, just structured differently. British English leans more on have got, while American English prefers do you have. Try saying both. Have you got a minute? And do you have a minute? Practice these aloud several times. Then try using both in your own examples. Say, "I've got a new book to read," and "I have a new book to read." Feel how the sentence changes slightly in structure, but keeps the same meaning. Let's also take a quick look at how time is told. In Britain, people often say 7:30, while in the US, it's more common to say 7:30. Of course, both are understood in either country, but the preference shows a cultural difference in how time is communicated. To practice, say, "The train leaves at 5:30. Now say, "The train leaves at 5:30. This kind of sentence repetition with small differences is a great technique to train your fluency and flexibility. Let's now explore how certain verbs are used differently in British and American English. One great example is the verb get. In British English, the past participle of get is often got, while in American English, it's gotten. So in Britain, someone might say, "He's got much better at football." Whereas in America, you might hear, "He's gotten much better at soccer." This simple difference can be heard in everyday conversations and is important for both speaking and listening. Practice both versions aloud. Say, "She's got more confidence since starting her job." Now say, "She's gotten more confidence since starting her job." By repeating these kinds of phrases often, your brain starts to accept both structures as normal. Another interesting difference is in the use of verbs like burn, learn, spell, or smell. In British English, you'll frequently hear burnt, learnt, spelt, and smelt as the past tense or past participle. Whereas in American English, it's more common to say burned, learned, spelled, and smelled. For example, in the UK, someone might say, "He spelt my name wrong." But in the US, they'd say, "He spelled my name wrong." Let's try a few of these now. British version, "The toast is burnt." American version, "The toast is burned." Say both a few times. Then switch to, "I've learned a lot today," and "I've learned a lot today." These simple exercises help tune your ears and tongue to the rhythm of both versions. We also see slight differences in how people talk about possession or obligation. In British English, people often use shall in formal situations like "Shall we go?" or "I shall return." In American English, shall is rarely used in everyday speech. Instead, people prefer should or will. So, while a British speaker might say, "Shall we start the meeting?" an American would say, "Should we start the meeting?" or "Let's start the meeting." Try practicing both, "Shall I open the window?" and "Should I open the window?" Repeat several times and note the tone shift. You don't have to use shall often unless you want to sound particularly formal or polite, especially in British contexts. Now, let's go into the classroom. School-related vocabulary is another area where differences appear. In the UK, the word public school actually refers to a private, fee-paying school, while in the US, public school means a government-funded school that's free to attend. This contrast can be confusing unless you're aware of the context. Similarly, British students might sit an exam, while American students take a test. In Britain, students go to primary school and secondary school, while Americans attend elementary school and high school. To make this practical, try forming a sentence like, I went to a public school in New York. And now say, I went to a public school in London. Same sentence, but very different meanings. These differences are especially important if you plan to study abroad or communicate in educational settings. There are also some fun cultural vocabulary differences. For instance, in the UK, a biscuit is what Americans call a cookie, as we discussed earlier. But it goes further. In the UK, people might say brolly for umbrella or lorry for truck. Americans don't use those words at all. Try saying, I packed an umbrella in case it rains. And then say the British version, I packed a brolly in case it rains. Repeat it several times. Try also saying, the delivery arrived in a truck. And then the UK version, the delivery arrived in a lorry. These kinds of vocabulary drills are a great way to strengthen your active vocabulary. Lastly, let's look at mail. In British English, the word post is used for both the mail and the postal service, while in the US, it's simply called mail. So a British speaker might say, I'm going to the post. And an American would say, I'm going to check the mail. Try saying both versions. Has the post arrived yet? And has the mail arrived yet? These simple swaps are easy to practice. And the more you speak them out loud, the easier they become to remember and use naturally. As we near the end of today's lesson, let's talk briefly about how American and British English vary in expressions and idioms. Idioms are phrases where the meaning isn't always clear from the individual words, and different regions have their own favorites. In British English, someone might say, I'm knackered, which means I'm very tired. In American English, the more common phrase would be, I'm beat, or I'm exhausted. Another British phrase is a storm in a teacup, which means a small problem that's being blown out of proportion. In the US, the similar expression would be making a mountain out of a molehill. These expressions can be confusing unless you hear them often. Let's practice. Try saying, I didn't sleep well. I'm knackered. Now try, I didn't sleep well. I'm beat. Then say, that argument was just a storm in a teacup. And follow it with, that argument was just making a mountain out of a molehill. By hearing and repeating these expressions in both versions, you'll gradually become more fluent and culturally aware at the same time. Now, let's review what we've learned in a more relaxed and practical way. Imagine you're visiting London and staying with a friend. In the morning, they say, do you want a biscuit with your tea? At first, you expect something soft and buttery, like a breakfast roll. But what you get is a crunchy cookie. Later that day, you head out and your friend says, grab your jumper, it might be chilly. You pause, trying to remember, oh yes, jumper means sweater. Then you're told to take the lift to the flat, and it all starts to make sense. Now imagine that same day happening in New York. Your friend offers you cookies with coffee, tells you to bring a sweater, and you take the elevator up to the apartment. It's the same experience, just with different words. Now let's have one last practice session with a short daily routine story. And we'll do it twice, once using British English, then American English. First, the British version. I woke up early and went to the loo. After brushing my teeth, I put on my trainers and went for a jog in the park. When I got back to the flat, I made myself a cup of tea and had a biscuit. Then I took the lift down to check if the post had arrived. It was a quiet morning, so I read a magazine until lunch. Now, the American version. I woke up early and went to the bathroom. After brushing my teeth, I put on my sneakers and went for a jog in the park. When I got back to the apartment, I made myself a cup of tea and had a cookie. Then I took the elevator down to check if the mail had arrived. It was a quiet morning, so I read a magazine until lunch. Repeating these kinds of short stories in both forms helps your brain build a natural bridge between the two versions of English. So, what's the key difference between American and British English? It's not about one being better or more correct than the other. The real difference lies in the small choices, vocabulary, pronunciation, spelling, grammar, and idioms that make the language feel unique in different regions. Being aware of these differences allows you to become a more flexible and confident English speaker. You'll understand more movies, more accents, and more people around the world. And as you continue to practice, switching between styles will become second nature. Before we wrap up, remember that fluency doesn't mean speaking perfectly, it means speaking naturally. If you prefer British English, that's great. If you feel more comfortable with American English, that's great too. But being familiar with both opens many doors and helps you connect with a wider global audience. Continue listening, practicing, reading, and speaking. Try writing your own daily routine in both styles. Practice it aloud and challenge yourself to notice new differences when watching videos or reading books. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss another English learning session with us. We post new videos every day to help you grow your skills and feel more confident in your English. Keep practicing, keep learning, and most of all, enjoy the process. I'm Natasha, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye for now.